Buffy the Vampire Slayer was first released in 1997 and lasted for 7 seasons. Loosely based on the 1992 movie with the same name, the show took on a darker tone. Empire's 50 Greatest TV Shows of All Time list by readers named it the second best show ever. Buffy even had its own spin-off, Angel, which ran for 5 seasons. As much as it still has a cult following till this day and the 4K version makes it worth watching for a new generation, we feel the show had a lot of room for improvement. First off, we would get rid of robots, which was the worst part of the show. Just how in the world did a kid in high school make a bunch of robots, as this wasn't the 80s anymore? The only exception is John Ritter's portrayal of Ted, who we would keep around for a longer story arc in the first and second seasons, which would deal with Joyce's relationship with Buffy and Ted's manipulation and abuse. Instead of Ted being a robot, we would keep him on as a terrible person, to explore the idea that human beings can also be demonic in their own way. Second off, Buffy's sister Dawn should have been a character on the show from the start. While she may not be introduced right away, we would make the audience believe that Dawn was living with her father at first and then moved in with her mum. As for being the key, we would have the monks forcibly place the key inside Dawn without her knowledge, and that there was no way to take it out of her until Glory was defeated. Third off, we believe Riley should have been just a normal college graduate student and a short-term love interest for Buffy, who wasn't a vampire. While we aren't fans of the initiative, we would make it a low-key secret government agency within the FBI that investigates the paranormal, but has a hard time as Buffy tries to subvert their attention away from it all. There would be no cyborgs, super-secret facilities, or computer chips for that matter, and the show would save some money too. Riley is eventually recruited by the FBI, who reveals everything he knows about the Slayer once he learns the truth of what is going on, which changes him as a person. The Season 3 villain would rather be Sunday and her vampire gang, as they prove to be a viable foe against Buffy in and out of the college. Despite Joyce's death, she does leave a substantial inheritance behind for Buffy, allowing Buffy to be Dawn's guardian, though not without challenges, while being able to go to college, which the show continues to acknowledge she is still attending throughout the series. Willow is one of the most popular characters on the show. However, we felt she would have been better off as the tech whiz she originally was, and Giles would take her under his wing. Willow's story arc would be her determination to become the first female Watcher. In our story, we wouldn't include Gwendolyn's character and make the assumption that only men were Watchers for Slayers. The Council eventually accepts Willow as a Watcher and completes her training under Giles by the end of the show. We also feel Willow's transition came about unexpectedly and largely due to the exit of Oz. Xander, who had some foreshadowing, is believed to have originally been the character to have come out. Willow being B would actually fit her character more and would have made for some interesting storytelling. As for a witch, we would bring in Tara early on in high school, who would join the Scooby Gang. She gets introduced as a new student and befriends Willow. Her relationship with Willow wouldn't be all so sudden, but gradual. We would have Amy restored from being a rat and end up becoming Tara's arch-nemesis among witches. Oz was a fan-favorite werewolf and Willow's love interest for a time, and while the actor left the show since he felt the character wasn't doing much, we would have had Veruca introduced as a major villain in Oz's story arc and kept her around longer. Oz falls for Veruca after breaking up with Willow, but she betrays him by leaving him to get captured by a group of hunters from England who capture werewolves. Buffy saves the day, but Oz wants revenge and eventually gets it. Xander and Anya's relationship was an odd one in the show that took time to work. Unfortunately, they don't marry and Anya dies in the series finale. We feel that Tara and Oz should have more story time than Anya. Eventually, Anya turns to her old ways and Xander kills her, despite being in love with her. There was no engagement. Xander is still considered the heart of the Scooby Gang. Spike as a love interest for Buffy came about due to fan love for the big bad, much like how Damon would become for Elena in the Vampire Diaries. Instead of a computer chip, we would have Spike try every way to kill Buffy till he completes the demon trials with the intention to find a way to defeat the Slayer. Unfortunately for him, he gets a soul, something he actually always desired, and this happens early on in the show. Spike doesn't suffer as much as Angel did, as that was part of his gift he got from the trials, but rather begins to take a liking to Buffy and wants to do good. They don't necessarily become a couple, but it's largely hinted by the series finale that they could become one. Also, Spike never attempts to rape Buffy. In this show, we would have Buffy die only once with the Master, which resulted in Faith becoming the next Slayer. In Season 5, we were introduced to Glory, who was a popular villain in the show. We would keep her, and the only way to defeat Glory was to either kill Dawn, who had the key in her, or save the world by killing Ben. Ben here becomes Buffy's love interest from the start of Season 5 as a resident doctor who comforts Buffy after Joyce's death. Buffy, however, didn't choose to kill Ben, but Giles does what she couldn't after finding out Glory was in Ben. Buffy and Giles have a difficult relationship after this. For Season 6, we would actually make this the final season. We wouldn't introduce 100 million Slayers all across the world. We would keep the idea that there could only be one. Instead, we would bring the first evil who isn't freed but rather restores the Master once more, only with far more power and capabilities as the first's representative on Earth. Buffy has been haunted by the Master ever since her death, and we do explore her actual fear of the Master during the series as she now has to face him again. The Master manages to unleash hell in Sunnydale by the series finale, and looks to release the first two. Faith joins the last few episodes in helping Buffy against the Master and the First, and sadly is killed by the Master despite her redemption arc. Since the actress was unwilling to do a spin-off, she can be resurrected in the comics. Buffy defeats the Master in the end, bringing the story full circle, though Sunnydale gets completely sucked into hell when the portal closes. Giles, Xander, Willow, Tara, Dawn, Oz and Spike manage to escape in time, though they wonder what had happened to Buffy. Months later, we learn that Dawn is chosen as the new Slayer with Willow as her watcher, determined to save Buffy from hell and ending the show. What did you think of this reimagining of Buffy? Would you like to see a reimagining of Angel? Comment below, like, subscribe, and thank you for watching In the Plot.